You're just in it for the sake of having a moment of the spotlight. I think you're right about most stuff. I just don't understand the need to sign an exclusive streaming contract with Amazon when you know it's only done to support Amazon and push people to get an Amazon Prime and peddle their ads. To me, declining an exclusive contract with Amazon seems like the bare minimum. Well, you don't have to have this argument any longer, because not only do I not have a contract with Amazon any longer, even though I still am technically on an Amazon platform, I also no longer serve ads. So I guess that talking point kind of falls apart, don't you think? And ultimately, no, of course, the reason why I take an Amazon contract is because I know how to play ball. I have to. And even in that process, when I took a contract with Amazon, I could have very easily gotten millions of dollars to serve 6 minutes or 10 minutes of ads an hour. You still took the money though? Yeah, I don't have an issue with this. I don't know why you think there is a problem with this. Nobody forced you to accept the contract. It seems like you came in and you made it seem as though you were charitable, but it doesn't seem like you are actually interested in hearing my perspective. I know how to play ball, which allows me charitability as a person who still is invested in having a large enough platform that I can have the most amount of impact. Okay? Yes, I don't have an issue peddling the ads of Amazon, especially when the contract that I took on was advocated to make sure that I ran the least amount of ads that I can without making sure that I had any additional problems. That's such copeland out, play ball, draw ball, morals, and political beliefs. Brother, I am an online content creator. I don't know why you think just admit you're greedy and move on, bro. Okay. Notice how this conversation started with like some semblance of charitability and very quickly turned into just admit you're greedy and move on, bro. Let's say that I am. What changes about the arguments that I've presented? Let's say that I love capitalism. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. Do you have a disagreement now with any number of different arguments that I present? Sure, I'm a capitalist. I'm a greedy capitalist. Okay, now let's talk about the things that I talk about. Do you have an issue with any of the things that I talk about? Are you simply that simple-minded that you're just like, oh, dude, socialism means no ads? Yes, because you present as anti-capitalist and anti-capitalism. No, I'm not. I just said that I love capitalism. I am not anti-capitalist at all. There you go. I love capitalism. Now let's discuss for-profit healthcare. Let's discuss why we don't have public education all the way up to college. Do you have an issue with those things? Yeah, I'm a capitalist. I still like labor unions. Do you have an issue with that? People don't want to tackle the things that I advocate for, so they immediately just go straight to the core, straight to the speaker, straight to the person, the messenger, because they don't want to tackle or talk about the actual message. And instead, they go, you're a bad person. You're hypocritical. Okay, I love capitalism. You got me. Do you guys understand, for everyone else in the chat, do you understand why it is unproductive if my community was full of people like this and they would constantly go into the chats of other people and would fight these battles? I think that it would be gross and shitty and lame. This is entirely the reason why I think simply debating for the purpose of debating is idiotic and creates like a very toxic environment. The problem is that people like you, the largest advocates for socialism, are unable to do the bare minimum to live along the socialist ideals. Brother, I already said I'm a capitalist. You're still arguing against the old me, okay? Our movement will never get anywhere. Our movement. When the largest leader of the movement can live along the social ideals. By the way, I never even was able to address this part. When the contract renegotiations were happening with Twitch, at the time they had actually stopped the process of offering the more favorable split of subscription revenue. So the only opportunity I had to maintain my same subscription revenue split was if I got a contract. They changed that. Luckily, they don't have this anymore. But at the time, that was the case. So of course, I was like, I have to get a contract. And the only way that I could get a contract is if I ran ads. Now that I don't have this contract, I no longer run ads. So that should be proof for many people, right? If you were truly interested in understanding my worldview, you would be like, well, let me interrogate this a little bit. Let me examine this a little bit. If you're not interested in that at all and simply are there for the blood sport and your job is to try to ridicule your opponent, then this is what you do. You quickly move on and go, nobody forced you to accept the contract. And then you act like you are actually a true socialist, okay? Our movement will never get anywhere when the largest leader of the movement can live along those social ideals. What are the standards for what you think is living along socialist ideals? So you never had to take a contract to push military ads, funnel people into Amazon Prime, but you still did it for the quick bag? No, I did. I just explained it to you. There's also additional reasons as to why. I think probably one of the best reasons is because, like I said, if you play ball, then they will let you continue to play ball. If you are generating revenue for your bosses, then they let you interview, for example, someone like Chris Smalls. They let you interview people who are directly contributing to the profit margins of your bosses being harmed. It's a give and take. Sometimes you have to play ball as long as you are not dropping your principles. I don't have an issue running ads in general. There are, however, plenty of ads that I do not run, plenty of sponsorships that I've actually willingly cast aside. I openly talk about that. A bare necessities budget would be the bare minimum. I don't think a hyper-capitalist lifestyle is good. A bare necessities budget. So can I ask you something? In all seriousness, why are you still invested in this Hasan, you're a socialist thing? I'm not. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. I asked you to argue against positions that I have, like, moving American society in the direction of a social democracy, for example. This is what I believe. This is something that I'm very public about. Free healthcare, free education, and the like. Why are you so simple-minded as to constantly go, you're a socialist and socialism is a poverty cult and you need to abide by these standards that I placed upon you, instead of having a more productive, more intellectual conversation about the issues that you have supposedly with the things that I advocate for? Is it perhaps because you don't necessarily care and it's more so just to, once again, in your own weird way, try to ridicule your interlocutor in the marketplace of ideas? Do you have any specific policy prescriptions to achieve free healthcare and free education? Everything you say is just vibes-based analysis? Well, there are plenty of videos that you can watch that I have done over the course of the past 10 years, I would say, on all of those issues. Maybe you should go and watch them and then come back, because this is ultimately the reason why I ban debating or annoying derailers, because they're simply invested in drama baiting. And I was having a different conversation here, and there's 30,000 other people. And I think ultimately it becomes far too unproductive. I'm not going to sit here and go over this over and over again for one singular individual. No, you banned them because you lost every argument? Sure. And not because you're being unimaginably selfish. You only debate train and XQC. First of all, that's not true. And I think you know that as well. I debate people when I find it to be productive, if they have a large enough audience that have individuals that I can potentially change the minds on. Don't forget Willie McLemore. I know. And the 15-year-old Israeli that bodied you. At a certain point, I think people understand exactly what's going on. We've gone far past that point. But hey, I almost want to bring you up on guest star. I wonder where this guy came from. Yeah, I know. Like, imagine me being like, listen, do you have an issue with my advocacy for socialized medicine? And you go, my favorite idiotic drama farmer actually made a video on you, openly admitted that he actually didn't even know that I was covering BBC's analysis, a video that I actually watched pieces of and realized he was actually clipping things that I was saying that I was against to make it seem as though I was in favor. Like, no, you didn't ask me to debate specific policy. You asked me about how I would implement socialized medicine when I've talked about it over and over again over the course of the past 10 years. If you have any sort of counter examples or any sort of counter arguments off of this pre-existing coverage, considering that you seemingly have many disagreements with me, then you should be able to come in and bring those points up. This was ironically something that I brought up with Willie Mack as well. I was like, Willie, you seemingly have this very serious conviction, right? You have all of these these convictions against like what I do. Can you please bring them up? And he was like, well, watch my YouTube video. I was like, okay, why are you coming in here with no actual firmly held conviction other than Hasan? Okay, that's it. You can't cite the dozens of videos in which you read tweets and claim that you have a policy prescriptive on how to achieve free healthcare and education. If you simply think that all of my commentary comes from reading Twitter posts, especially when you're here a week after I had the Federal Trade Commissioner, okay, the commissioner of the FTC, Ta-Nehisi Coates, where I routinely interview politicians, routinely interview people that are directly a part of the legislative process, activists, organizers, then I'm afraid that we can't have a normal conversation because you're just not equipped enough to have this conversation. And Stavros as well. Bro, I'm asking for one policy. Holy shit. So you're admitting that you have no understanding of any of the policies that I have advocated for. Am I getting that right? Because I didn't just give one policy example, I gave multiple in terms of universal health care, inevitably moving towards a nationalized structure, or free college education. These are both policies. It's not vibes based at all. These are policies that are implemented in countries like the one I come from, Turkey. Turkey has a nationalized healthcare structure, and on top of that, there's also private elements as well. Turkey also has free public education. Buzzwords. What do you think policies are? Get rid of the time waster. He's distracting you on purpose. I know. I want him to clarify. What is your counter argument against having a universal healthcare system in the United States of America? I did clarify my message isn't showing up. You can't just cite the dozens of videos in which you retweet and claim you have a policy prescribed on how to achieve free healthcare and education. I am for universal healthcare. Oh, you are? Oh, fantastic. So what's your disagreement with my advocacy for universal healthcare? I think that considering that healthcare across the board, okay, whether it's pharmaceuticals or any sort of medical care whatsoever, is a good with inelastic demand, that there should either be severe market regulations implemented by the federal government, or it should not be for profit at all. That is the reason why I am an advocate for universal healthcare. If you're an advocate for universal healthcare as well, I suspect that you and I do not have any disagreements on this. So far, it doesn't seem like we have any policy disagreements at all. You've just simply, once again, instead of addressing any of the actual issues that you might have with any of the things that I advocate for, have consistently brought the conversation back to silly things like, oh, you read a lot of tweets. It's not true. Or your perspective is informed by tweets. Not true at all. This is a perspective that I've had for many years at this point. Your biggest argument against me is that I am a socialist living a hyper-capitalist lifestyle. You're just saying buzzwords. Providing a basic definition does not constitute a policy. You need to outline specific budget changes to implement universal healthcare. All your analysis is vibes-based. Chatter. This is why I said, go and watch one of these videos, one of these many different videos that I've done, whether it be an advocacy for single-payer healthcare or any kind of like socialized medicine, any kind of videos I've done on socialized medicine, because unpacking for the purpose of one singular individual who very clearly in the videos in which you read tweets, that's not true. There are, however, tweets that I do rely on. You do know why, right? I've also made this known time and time again. I use Twitter, and I'm still on Twitter, specifically because all of the journalists that I trust, that I'm friends with, are also on Twitter. That is where they break their stories. Oftentimes, the tweets that I'm reading are not like summaries that some random person came up with, but instead, actual journalists that are summarizing the stories that they're breaking in the process of breaking those stories. If you personally think that your method of consumption, your primary method of understanding the world is better than mine, which is, I assume, considering the talking points that you've dished out so far, you come from Destiny's community, is to read Wikipedia articles summarizing those positions, then yeah, to each their own. When I'm engaging in news coverage, of course I'm going to look at journalists that are breaking their stories, people that work at think tanks that are writing out their analysis before they go on CNN to talk about that very same analysis. We just, I guess, have a disagreement. You like it when it's summarized and spoon-fed to you with a specific point of view from Wikipedia summarizations. That's it. This is not going to work, saying like, I can read tweets too, especially when virtually no one, I hate D. Okay, well then you're a uniquely stupid person and somehow worse than the many DDG operatives that are in this chat waiting for their opportunity in the spotlight, just like you took over, because you're using his talking points without actually even trying to understand what my position is or what I've done. You're just in it for the sake of being, for the sake of having a moment in the spotlight where someone who you personally have emphasized as a person of importance, offering you a little bit of acknowledgement, one that you can't get from your immediate friends and family, I assume. So this is where you're being a bad child right here. Anyway, the point that I was making had nothing to do with debate lording. The point that I was making originally was not even supposed to be about just debating, but instead the intersectionality of privilege. something that I've talked about quite a bit. What position that you deserve a mansion under capitalism? Nobody deserves anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I deserve a mansion under capitalism is not a important part of my commentary. It's not even a part of my commentary at all.